Personal Story segment tonight. Our pal Brit Hume has covered 11 presidential elections, so he has a pretty good feel for the process. Joining us now from Washington. So what direction, right now on this Friday evening, what direction is this thing going in? Can you sense something happening?
Well, you can sense for the past several days that there's been momentum toward Donald Trump, but when you look at the polling on this, Bill, it doesn't look like his numbers have moved up very much. What has happened is that a segment of Hillary Clinton's support has collapsed. That might recover over the weekend. I think sometimes there is real movement over the last weekend before an election. But that's the story right now, is that her support is fading. He's holding. She fades enough, he could win. Okay.
It's all about turnout then. Remember 4 years ago, the Romney campaign thought they had it. Remember that? They thought they were going to win. The internal polling they had showed him up by 3, and then he disappeared. Mitt Romney disappeared. Didn't do any national interviews, and then Superstorm Sandy was in play, and that was taking a lot of the politics off the front page. And then he got thumped. Romney got thumped. Did that surprise you 4 years ago?
No, because I remember sitting on your show on election eve, and you asked me, who's going to win, and I said, I've heard the briefings from both camps, and, each makes a persuasive case. And you remember what happened then, Bill, was that Romney was leading, or at least was right there, in all the national polling. But if you went state by state through the key states, the battleground states, he was not. And what was striking about it, Bill, was that the national polling was done by these big and well-known and well-recognized polling organizations, and a lot of the state polls were done by little colleges and
local
polling organizations we didn't know much about. But they turned out to have it right. The national poll was off, and then it turned out on Election Day that it was off, too, that he won by more than the national polls had suggested he would in the popular vote.
But Trump's doing, and we're going to do this segment a little bit long, the same thing that Romney did. He's not appearing right now on national TV, which for him is a big departure. Now, in New Hampshire, the local poll up there, WBUR out of Boston, but that's a local poll, has Trump now either tied or winning by a little. That's a turn. Nevada, some local polls there have Trump ahead there. Arizona, Trump has surged ahead. So I'm not seeing a lot of Clinton turning around in states, but I am seeing some going over to Trump.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think basically that's the way it looks. Now, all these polls, you average them out, and they're only a couple of points either way.
Right.
And of course, you can't do a margin of error for an average of polls. But if you look at the polls themselves, the margins of error are such that, if it's plus or minus 2 or 3 or 4, that could mean a lot of different possible outcomes.
Especially if voting blocks don't turn out, like African Americans. Everybody's keeping a very close eye on them. Hispanic Americans in certain states like Colorado. So what I see now is that if Trump manages to win Florida and Ohio and North Carolina, it's a long night. If he loses any of those 3, it's a short night.
I think that's about right. And I think the one of the 3, the one where he has the greatest vulnerability is North Carolina, where the polling average, I think, shows Mrs. Clinton up a little bit. And North Carolina, of course, would be if she wins it, that's a flip, which is to say that's a state that Mitt Romney won. And it would, we all know that because of the structure of the states and how they voted in recent elections, that of any Republican nominee, this one included, of course, has a steeper hill to climb. And Mr. Trump would have to basically run the table of all the states that that Romney won, plus the toss-up states, and even that wouldn't get him there. He'd have to pick off some states that
like
Obama
Iowa,
won.
But Iowa's
a good chance. He has a good chance in Iowa.
It's a doable scenario. Yep.
Yeah, it's quite possible.
But you're right. North Carolina.
It's a long shot.
And that'll close fairly early on Tuesday night. That one will be the harbinger.
That's a good one to keep your eye on.
All right, Britt. Thank you very much as always.